Great to be here.
Thank you, Hunter.
Thank you. And I will pass it over to you two.
Awesome. So though we can't see anyone, thank you everyone for joining us. My name is Shalise Martin. I'm a talent acquisition manager here at Healthfirst. As Hunter mentioned, Healthfirst is New York's largest not-for-profit health insurer, offering high quality, affordable plans to fit every life stage. I am delighted to talk today with Dr. Susan Beane. Dr. Beane is Healthfirst's Executive Medical Director, and she leads a team that collaborates with major healthcare delivery systems and with local and national policy experts on the design, implementation, and dissemination of innovative outcomes-focused models of care that address the psychosocial needs of members. She's here to talk with us today about how Healthfirst not only serves the needs of its diverse member population, but also of its diverse employee population. Healthfirst employees are from different generations, locations, and have different skill sets. So the workplace wellness varies greatly. Welcome, Dr. Susan Beane.
Thank you, Shalise. Hi, how are you, Shalise?
I'm good today. So Dr. Beane, what do you do as an executive medical director at Healthfirst?
Well, I have an amazing job because I am able to collaborate with departments throughout Healthfirst, with our employees and staff, and to learn their interests, as well as with our providers who are attempting to deliver the best medicine possible, the best care possible to our members, their patients, and their communities. So my job is to connect all of that together, and thus our department is called Partnerships.
Awesome, and you do an amazing job at it. Thank you so much on behalf of the company.
Thank you.
Current job market, Dr. Beane, there are 4 different generations: Gen Z, Gen X, millennials, and baby boomers. How do you manage the employee wellness for such disparate groups? What are the challenges? What are the differences?
Well, I'll tell you, as I was thinking about this, we also have some Generation Alpha, correct?
Yes.
We actually have a real commitment to younger people having an opportunity to potentially use their skills as they're growing and becoming more educated at Healthfirst. Well, I think that the theme is obviously is our members are our North Star, but because the theme is really around the health of our members, it permeates all of the things that we do. And for us to provide awesome opportunities for wellness to our employees, we sort of mirror what we do for our members in that there's awareness, there are opportunities for screenings, there are alerts. Often our chief clinical officer will give updates and have open town hall meetings. I think for myself, often I am approached personally by some of our employees around their health. And my aim is to have our employees think about health as sort of a continuum, meaning that no matter your age, there are certain considerations that you should have. And the differences between the generations really is partially their perspectives on health, their challenges around using technology, if you will, to find answers, and also their specific concerns given the world that they were born into.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Beane. How is Healthfirst connecting more junior employees to the company's mission, vision, strategy? And how do you set them up for success?
So I'm really been inspired by some of the work that we have done in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space to allow our employees to actually have an opportunity to express themselves beyond just what happens at work. Much of this happened as a result of the murder of George Floyd, and we have been meeting in that way since then. In addition, it has given us an opportunity for our own employees to come together in what we call resource groups, to talk about social justice, racism, cultural differences, cultural similarities. And I think that that has been remarkable because we are speaking across generations, and especially our junior employees are getting to lead some of those groups and to have that kind of leadership opportunity beyond their own job. I will add that we're testing some other models for junior employees to reduce stress. So many of us know that we as employees, as people, deal with stress differently. Some of us who may be older have resilience in some ways because we've had life experience. And so, I do think that we are finding ways for younger employees to work and bring forward their ideas, to be an active part of how the company's future is shaped. And I do think that helps in wellness overall because it's sort of a stress reducer.
Thank you, Dr. Beane. You mentioned earlier, of course, our members are our North Star, and we try to provide the same services for our members as we do for our employees. What are some of the differences for employees?
Well, employees are generally utilizing an insurance product that's different than our government-sponsored programs for our members. And so we are able, if the employee chooses our commercial health plan, we're able to create some special programs to align with what our employees are expressing and experiencing for their health. And I think that that's both a challenge and opportunity because we can't force employees to do anything around their own health. But I think we are constantly trying to overcome that challenge by building a sense of wellness. We sometimes have a meditation during our meetings. Our CEO, Pat Wong, speaks about this all the time in terms of keep yourself healthy. I think we as senior leaders have been encouraged to do the same. I will say that it is a real concern of our employees that equity applies not only to our communities that we serve, but to them as well. And so some of the challenges that we see in the external world, we see internally. For example, we'll remember when there were some very significant attacks on Asian American populations in the world outside our ivory towers. That was something that we internalized at Healthfirst. Many of our employees are of Asian descent. And so we spent quite a bit of time not only talking through what was happening outside, but having an opportunity for our employees to express their own concerns. Again, it's very hard to address wellness if these are some of the, challenges that you're experiencing personally.
Thank you so much. What are the policies or resources on telehealth, mental health, and how do they affect our employees? And how does Healthfirst encourage use of these tools?
Sure. Well, again, there's a lot of communication that happens between our executive and senior leaders and our employees. And especially when we, if you will, talk with Pat, who's our CEO, she encourages our employees to ask all kinds of questions. And especially during COVID, our employees were very, very vocal about making sure that their concerns about their own mental wellness and health were met. And so concurrent with this, our human resources group is extremely quick to respond, if you will, as is our technology group. And so telehealth became an important resource for all of us during the pandemic. So our members were encouraged, but also our own employees. And I know for myself, I used telehealth during the pandemic, whereas I might have otherwise gone in to see my provider. We were very, very key on making sure that these resources were extremely inclusive of mental health opportunities, in addition to our own employee assistance programs, which we constantly encourage our employees to use. We advertised the opportunity to keep your health and wellness going, for example, during the pandemic and beyond. And so I find that our benefits are extremely conversant with how our employees would like to receive health care, whether it's through technology, whether it's having a robust network, whether it's having chronic disease programs, such as programs for prediabetes and diabetes and so on.
Awesome. How do you think the generations can help teach each other, school each other?
Oh, wow. I was speaking recently and talk. I have my own Gen Z young person in my family. And my life has been enriched by her perspective on things. And I think we are learning as different generations to listen to the experience of our generations that are younger and older. I mean, I think that that's sort of the trust and experience of collaboration that we have at Healthfirst. When it comes to wellness, I think it has been really interesting to hear our employees with families talk about some of the challenges they're facing, or our employees who, are talk to us about their challenges with their need for gender affirmation, for example, in addition to, some of the, racial and other social justice needs that are out there. Well, when we are able to talk with one another about that freely in a company like Healthfirst, you can believe that that carries over into our work environment, where if I can speak with, a Gen X person or a baby boomer, if you will, et cetera, as equals in that space, then that really helps us to have trust and affirmation that we can trust one another with other kinds of concerns that we have about our health, our wellness, as well as the work environment.
So Dr. Beane, being in an environment with 5 different generations as a more mature professional, what do you think we can take away from the younger generation? What have we as an organization learned from the younger generation?
Well, I think we've learned that our younger colleagues are quick thinkers. I think that the environmental experiences that they've had, beginning with 9/11 and various other urgencies, climate change, things that they feel very deeply about, have caused them to need to be able to make good decisions quickly. And I feel that in my experience, I benefit from that. In fact, I push them to use those capabilities, at least in my area, in our day-to-day work. I call them my action council. So they are able to access some of those tools that they use in the world at large and bring them to the workplace along with their training. Many of them are, doing extra work after school and et cetera. And I think that benefits Healthfirst to keep us nimble, to keep us looking toward the future. So I'm very grateful that our human resources colleagues keep us fresh in terms of, all of the generations playing a role at Healthfirst.
Thank you. Dr. Beane, now that the world is trying to get back to the new normal, and many organizations are in a hybrid remote situation, how have you seen that affect mental health, if at all?
Yeah. Many of us are still recovering from COVID, if you will, ourselves or our family members. There was a lot of loss, and our employees were not immune from that. And in addition, the post-COVID world changed, and our human resources division has been really, really helpful to us as leaders in understanding that. So, I know that I have younger employees who are having to assume a caregiver role that they didn't have before. I mean, I think that has been a major, major change in terms of how our employees, especially younger ones, who didn't anticipate, for example, caring for parents, et cetera, have had to sort of move into other roles. And during the pandemic, there was a great deal of sensitivity to that. And now as we have returned to the office, we're still allowing for the fact that, our employees are members of communities, many of them that were hard hit by COVID, and have their own stories and experiences that are guiding how they're living their lives. So I think that we have been very responsive to that, and we remain dedicated to making Healthfirst the best environment it can be in this new hybrid environment.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Beane. So there is a question in the chat. how does Healthfirst promote inclusivity and engagement across different generations when it comes to wellness activities?
Yes, yes. So a corporate way that we have been doing this for a number of years is inviting screening for major health concerns, especially cardiovascular ones. And I have appreciated that. And I find that my entire staff rushes to do that screening, no matter their age. And the reason for that is we are very, very aware of the cardiovascular needs of people in the United States, especially after COVID. So I think that's one. Number two, as we have our large staff meetings and various gatherings that we have across the company, we give a voice to our staff across the board in terms of shaping how those occur. And what that means operationally is when we put the committee together for how we're going to hear the voice of our colleagues and speak to what's going on, our future, et cetera, our senior executive leadership is really determined that our younger, more junior members, let's call them, have an opportunity to contribute. I think one of the most interesting ways is in the format. And one of the formats is digital. So we have many opportunities to leverage digital, our digital ecosystem and thinking sort of out of the box in many ways that connect really through our infrastructure, digital and otherwise. All ideas matter to us.
Awesome. Another question, what kind of feedback mechanisms does Healthfirst have in place to gather insights and suggestions from employees of different generations regarding their wellness needs?
So you're actually giving me an idea that we might not have thought about, but I do know that we have a very robust training program. And again, we're the workplace, so we have to be a little bit cautious. We can't sort of, insist upon wellness, but we can sort of make our environment one that's conducive to wellness and becoming well. And so, a lot of our activities that speak to career growth, et cetera, include a wellness component. So how are you feeling good? How do you take care of yourself, even as you're growing your career, et cetera. And I think that as employers, we have to be cognizant that, many of our employees are extremely private and don't want it to be intruded upon in terms of how they manage their health. But I do think that having forums where people can speak to these things, and our various resource groups provide this as well, whether it's cardiovascular health or ways to be, financially healthy, which helps economic wellness, mental wellness. So just loads and loads of opportunities, lunch and learns, just opportunities to bring up these important issues and letting all of us speak to them from our perspective.
I'm just checking to see if there are additional questions. Looks like that might be it. Mona Lisa, anything else for Dr. Beane?
Well, I have a question for you, Shalise.
Oh, Dr. Beane.
There you go.
Uh-oh.
Let me turn the table a little bit. So from your seat within the Human Resources Department, how are you experiencing the reaction of our employees of various generations to what you're trying to do to make sure they have an opportunity for health and wellness?
Oh, Dr. Beane.
I know, you love me.
That is a good question. So our team, talent acquisition, deals with, of course, all of the generations. And I think it comes through by way of questions that they have around benefits, right? What benefits do we offer? So it makes us think about what we offer, what we can offer, what we should offer. And then, of course, we collaborate with our Total Rewards team to talk about those things that might be missing because we don't think about it, right? And so, as you mentioned, it's the younger generation that makes us think about other issues that may not come up on a regular basis for us. So it's the questions, it's the interactions, it's the thought process, right?
Very, very great.
Anything else for me, Dr. Beane?
No, I think we have one more question though. I just saw it come through.
I saw that. Hold on.
How do we measure?
How do we measure, right?
effectiveness?
How does Healthfirst measure the effectiveness and impact of its wellness programs on the overall health and satisfaction of its diverse workforce?
Yes. So we do have robust surveying of our employees, constantly trying to find out how they're experiencing the work environment, their work. I think after today, though, we're going to add in more questions around how they're experiencing wellness, although we do ask them about total rewards and their benefits. But I do think I've learned something today, and I do think it's worthwhile to add in some questions around wellness.
It looks like we have another question. How does Healthfirst adapt its wellness offerings to accommodate the changing health needs of employees as they transition through different life stages?
That's such an important question. So, we are offering over the last several years, maybe even before the pandemic, we began to offer the best programs that we offer our members to our employees as well. So if we find programs that, for example, address chronic disease and are, feasible and desirable to our members, often we'll see that same portfolio of programs put forward to our employees. So it goes back to the beginning of our talk that as a healthcare organization, we should mirror, our best hopes for longevity and quality for our members with those hopes for and aspirations for our employees as well.
Wonderful. Again, Dr. Beane, I'd like to thank you for your time. I know you're extremely busy. This has been very insightful. It has been my privilege and pleasure to have this chat with you today.
Well, thank you so much for having me and inviting me to participate. This is really an important set of topics that we're addressing. So I've really enjoyed my time with you.
Thank you so much. Hunter?
Thank you both so much. That was so wonderful to hear about Healthfirst. I was a beneficiary of Healthfirst for many years as a New Yorker, so I have an invested stake in this, and it was so wonderful to hear y'all share about what you do. Like I had nothing but great experiences with Healthfirst. It was there when I needed it, so thank you. So if you're in New York and you need some help with your healthcare, go to Healthfirst. I'm a happy customer. And there's just, oh yeah, of course. There's just so much in there, and I'm just thrilled by, it sounds like, the mindfulness that's involved in what's going on. When you're talking about you take meditation breaks at work, I was just like, I just started to have like a Healthfirst crush. It was like, oh my gosh, this is just so beautiful. And sounds like you're doing great work, and it sounds you're really invested in what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you,
so
Hunter.
much.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for making the time, both of you. I really appreciate it. And if folks want to reach out to you, what's the best way to stay connected?
I can drop my information in the chat.
Yeah. LinkedIn
Yes,
is
same
always
with me.
LinkedIn
Yes,
is
popular
always,
one.
absolutely. LinkedIn. I will look forward to it. And may I put my information in chat?
Of course, absolutely. And we'll relay that to our folks listening in. There were so many great questions too from our listeners today. So thank you for asking such mindful questions. And Dr. Beane is dropping her email in the chat. We have yes. And Shalise, thank you so much. Okay, great. Well, have a great rest of your day. I hope we get to have you back. This was so powerful.
Anytime.
Thank you so much.
you.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
day. Thank you,
Take
everyone.
care now.
Bye-bye.